The 2025 Kansas legislative session has come and gone.
It's been a bloodbath.
From bar brawls.
I feel like it was a waste of taxpayer dollars.
To heated house fights.
Issues were becoming heated over there.
We're breaking down the top moments from this year's session and new laws set to take effect.
Another legislative session in the books. That's where we start this morning. You're taking a look inside Kansas politics. Welcome in. I'm Rebecca Chung.
And I'm Rob Hughes. New laws now set to take effect, and some of them limiting health officials and giving more freedom to opt out of vaccines.
One bill that passed broadens religious exemptions for vaccines. The new definition would include theistic and non-theistic moral and ethical beliefs, sincerely held with the strength of traditional religious views. Now, this comes as 37 measles cases have been reported in Kansas in the past month, mainly in the southwest part of the state. 30 of the people infected are minors, and 30 have never been vaccinated for measles. Bob, let's start with you. We have both of our political analysts and experts in today. Bob, we're going to talk about this change that was bundled with other legislation. So we did see some Democrats supporting it, even if they didn't believe in this particular provision. What exactly could the impact of this legislation be?
Well, you know, obviously, in terms of vaccinations, health officials often want over 90% of the population to be vaccinated, and then that offers what they call herd immunity. And then everybody is basically safe, and they get under that percentage. And then even people that are vaccinated are still, some of them are still at risk from getting measles or some other infectious disease. So there's a real worry that if too many people opt out, they will not get that herd immunity. And they're especially worried about like preschools. So, you know, that their older brothers, older sisters, and others could pass it on. They say that young children are most vulnerable. And I guess the critics of this are arguing that the reasons for opting out of the vaccinations keep, expanding and expanding. What originally in Kansas was for religious reasons is now just being expanded. And they worry that essentially people can just say, nah, I don't want vaccinations, and then that could harm the whole community.
Right, having that freedom, but then also looking at these numbers, it's a bit concerning. Right.
And that's always the American, sort of tension, the individual freedom versus, the health of everybody. And that goes across everything in America. And this is a great example of that.
And Bob, I want to ask you now, another bill would limit health officials' power, right, when it comes to dealing with infectious diseases. Can you talk about that one?
Yeah, this is still sort of hey, COVID is still around. It's a little bit of an aftertaste from COVID, but the same idea. It's what happens if an infectious disease hits like COVID did, and what can the state react to it? So this new law actually does several things. It can ban public gatherings to stop the spread of the disease. It restrains the state health secretary from dealing with an infectious disease unless they have, quote, probable cause, and they can be sued by those who aren't happy with their reactions. And it also, it can, if a local official wants to institute a quarantine, they can be sued. So it really gives the rights to sue to individuals, which could make local health officials very trepidatious and maybe slow acting in fear for their own job or fear for being sued rather than acting quickly. So again, the rights of the individual versus the ability for a government to act quickly when a pandemic hits.
All right, now another law telling people to move over. This one expanding the state's current law. Right now, people have to move over one lane and slow down for emergency vehicles, tow trucks, utility trucks, and garbage trucks. Now this rule applies to all vehicles flashing hazard lights or where flares or other warning signals are set up. And Bob, Bill, let's talk about this change.
Bill, go ahead.
Oh, well, this is going to save lives. This is kind of a slam dunker, if you will. A clear law is a good law, so expanding it to include all vehicles, those with hazards on. I think over 80, there were 80 fatalities in the last 5 years. That was noted in the governor's message, and so this is definitely a step in the right direction. And like I said, it's much clearer now. Basically, you see a vehicle of any make pulled to the side with hazards on, we need to get over it.
All right.
And I think the important thing is that people know this. I was actually driving with somebody recently, and I told them, hey, this is a law. It was like, oh, you have to do it. Yes. So I think the public education is going to be key, because obviously if you drive too fast past someone who's pulled over and they happen to open their door, that's going to be a nasty situation.
Very true, and sometimes you don't even see people do it, but they can be fined.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, very interesting. Well, you know, also more bill is dealing with elections, right? Now set to take effect. We all know about this. One would get rid of the 3-day grace period. We've talked about this extensively. The other bans ranked choice voting. Okay, first want to go to Bill. Let's start with you, and then Bob, let's go to you. What do you think about this?
Well, let's start with the 3-day grace period a little bit. That was probably a very contentious and well-known issue. When you look at who, it's interesting who was against this. The people that actually administer elections in the state of Kansas, which are county clerks, and 105 counties, their association came out against repealing the 3-day grace period. And if you know Kansas, all of these, I wouldn't say all of them, but most of these are going to be Republican elected officials in these counties. So the fact that the GOP majority, supermajority, passed something like that in the face of the people that are actually administering this says something. The problems of the Postal Service have not gone away. And so even though the counts, I believe it's anywhere from 2 to 3% of the ballots that are received by mail, total all the votes, and doesn't sound like a lot, but when you add up 105 counties, that's a lot of votes. And so it's just interesting that in the face of the counties that actually do the election administration, that it passed and had a veto overridden.
And Bob, a number of other states do this as well.
Yeah, you know,
we've heard a lot.
I talked about a COVID hangover. I guess we'll call this the 2020 Rudy Giuliani election hangover, where Giuliani and Trump and everyone else said, hey, it's rigged and all these problems, none of them of which were proven to be true in court. It's 2025, and we're still sort of dealing with this. You know, in terms of the banning of ranked choice voting, that one I'm a little perplexed about. I'm also a bit of a federalist, which is I'm a fan of state and local government being allowed to sort of run their show unless they're violating civil rights or something. You know, obviously, if they're violating people's rights and things of that nature, yeah, the state should step in. But what's the state doing telling, you know, a city of Holton or Tonganoxie or Topeka, hey, you can't have ranked choice voting for your city council? Why not? So that one is a little mystifying, Rob, in terms of how that's, you know, an election-related bill and how it's so vitally important that the state not allow us to consider ranked choice voting when we're voting for county commissioners or things of that nature.
All right, as for what lawmakers could agree on, we're looking at water legislation and blackout license plates. So, Bob, let's start with some of the changes to water laws in Kansas.
Well, I think, you know, government can be slow moving, but it's a start. Obviously, water is a long-term problem for the state of Kansas, which is so dependent on agriculture. So what the governor and the legislature have done is put together pass a bill for a water program task force, and you might say, oh, big deal. It's like, no, this is important because that task force has to come up with a plan to deal with the water issue, and here's the key, the funding for it. In the law, it says find a dedicated funding source. So how are we going to solve this problem and how are we going to pay for it? And their first report will be due in 2026. So they're working on the issue, and it's a long-term issue. That's
all
for
right,
sure.
Making some moves.
Yeah. And Bill, those blackout plates, I think they look pretty cool, right?
Look pretty cool.
Another change we could be seeing soon. Tell me about that.
Real quickly, yeah, blackout plates. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a black background license plate. With whatever the letters. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. That's a Colorado
Yep.
example. Others, they approve other license plates. Typically, the revenue goes to the nonprofit or the state association, that whatever that sponsor is on that plate. For these are money makers. These are extra. $50,
right?
$50.
Yeah.
They're projecting a couple $1 million. Iowa is going gangbusters with these 100,000 plates a year.
Why? Just because they look cool?
They look cool.
Okay.
And so, but this is important because when we talk about cutting taxes, this is how we're going to fund the cuts in taxes.
All right, blackout plates.
Blackout plates.
Or the water plan.
You heard it here.
Fund the water plan.
You heard it here.
Bob, Bill, thank you so much. When we come back, we're talking taxes, property taxes to be exact. Did lawmakers do enough to get Kansans the relief they need? What action out of the State House could mean for you?
And later on, a surprise move bringing back the flat tax. A new law could impact how much you get back on your tax return. That's still ahead. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Stauffer Lawn and Landscape. Service, style, and originality from start to finish. We can make your not-so-pleasing space into a space that you and your family can enjoy. To request a quote, visit staufferlawn.com.
Talk to people about siding, and talk to people about windows, and talk to people about decking, and it was just beyond me, and I couldn't get it to fit together. Window Design came in and they basically put it all together. I would recommend this company to anybody, my neighbors especially, because they've all come over and wanted to see my house. It was a great experience, and the product obviously speaks for itself.
Let us make your dream project become a reality. Call the experts at Window Design and Remodeling. We are your home remodeling specialists.
God's Storehouse has expanded. Shop with us at 2 locations, our current West store and now our East store at 29th and California.
We're a ministry-ran thrift store serving our community, helping over 1,700 individuals with clothing at no charge and furnishing 360 homes in 2024, all while providing an affordable and valuable shopping experience.
Shop with us now at 2 locations. From all of us at God's Storehouse, thank you.
The people that I represent have had serious injuries or deaths in the family.
Being able to be there for someone and have that feeling of providing for them.
Being able to help them through that process and relieve some of the stress that comes from that kind of uncertainty.
Finding the truth for my clients and solving their problems.
I became a lawyer to make a difference in people's lives, and getting my clients there and getting them compensation and letting them know that there's somebody there fighting for them. It's really rewarding.
At Briggs Auto Group, we buy cars hassle-free, fair, and competitive. Whether you're looking to sell or trade in, Briggs Auto Group makes it simple and stress-free. Come see us today at Briggs Auto Group, where trust matters and customers are #1.
And welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. It is time to talk property taxes.
Yep, lawmakers pushed for property tax relief early on this session, but did they deliver? Bill, what's your take?
Okay, did they deliver? Let's see, in baseball, since we were talking baseball earlier, this would be a bunt, I think. They didn't quite whiff.
Did they even make it to first base? Well, they bunted and then make it to first?
It was a close call.
Okay.
Close call.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't whiff. They did the thing they had to do. It's their only remaining mill levy on the tax bill is that state 1.5 for state building maintenance. They had to remove that and take care of that. It's small potatoes, $35 for everybody if you have a $200,000 house. So in that's why we call it a bunt. But they at least had to do that. The bigger issue is going to be they've run out of the well is dry. They've run out of places to get money to cut property taxes at the state level. They're not going to do it at the school, at least they didn't this year. They're very hesitant because they did it last year. They're rid of the state building maintenance fund. They have nowhere to, so maybe when we talk about income tax cuts, that's another reason why the well is dry, because they have to backfill any property tax cuts with income tax or sales tax. If you've got less income tax because of these because of the cuts we're going to talk about, you can't backfill other property tax cuts. So so next year, this was a big game. They were talking big game this year.
Yeah.
So if you like bunts, if you like the small ball, you got it.
I was going to say, from the very beginning, they were talking such a big game about getting something through this year, but those plans kind of look like they fell apart.
Exactly. Yeah. No home runs, not even a single, I guess. So what do you think, Bob? I mean, broken promises. What happened this year?
Well, I really hate to say this. Pains me, but Bill is right, so I don't like to say that. And what he's right about is that the state just does not deal with property tax much. There's not a lot there. And so to your comments, yeah, and all the ads in the most recent election, we saw them. We're going to cut property taxes. And what you need to hear that from is your city council person, your county commissioner, not a state legislator. So if the state wants to cut property taxes, they have to go into the cities and the counties and pass a law and say, you have to do X, Y, and Z. Well, what happened this session was they actually started talking about that. And we talked about it a couple months ago. Hey, this is what's going on. And the city and counties quickly showed up in Topeka saying, okay, how are you going to make up for all that money we're not going to get when you pass that law? And the legislators said, we'll just bunt on this one. And we'll see if next year they even want to try it. They might. But they can go next election and say we cut property taxes, and they don't have to say it was only by $30. But they can full stop say we cut property taxes.
Yeah, I got to look at those numbers. All right. Thank you both.
All right, thank you. Well, coming up from a bar fight to a heated House debate, we've got to look at some surprising moments from this year's session.
And the possible return of a flat tax, what it could mean for your wallet. That's next. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
After a car accident, what do you get when you call Devon James?
You get one of the state's most trusted injury law firms and a team of attorneys known throughout the legal community.
You get the respect that comes with our reputation as trial lawyers and from our proven record for getting big results.
Experience, reputation, results. That's what you want in your lawyer.
And that's what you get when you call Devon James.
Devon James wins. Call 888-8888.
Briggs Auto Group, locally owned since 1979. We're proud to be your trusted dealership, standing by fair and transparent pricing with no surprise fees. Our sales professionals are trained, non-commissioned experts, focused on helping find the right vehicle and not just making a sale. Come experience our first-class care before and after the purchase. Come see us at Briggs Auto Group, where trust matters and customers are number one.
Hey, look what's going on at Briggs Auto.
Grace Med Health Clinic is your home for complete compassionate care. From medical visits to vision screenings, dental care, behavioral health support, and a fully equipped pharmacy, we're here to meet all your health needs. Our dedicated team of providers and staff work together to make every visit welcoming and stress-free. Because at Grace Med, you're not just a patient, you're part of our family. Call 785-861-8800 to schedule your appointment. Grace Med Health Clinic, compassionate care for all.
For Brittany, it's more than a move. It's a new city. It's a new role. It's a brand new horizon that's hers for the taking. It's more than a move, and we're more than a truck.
Next Live, searching for Spain's Eva Longoria, plus Happy Faces Annalie Ashford. And Friday, we're starstruck. Oprah comes to life.
Monday at 11 on 27 KSNT.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. We're turning now to a look at some of the most surprising moments from this year's legislative session. At the top of the list, you may remember a heated bar fight between Democratic Representative Ford Carr from Wichita and Wichita City Councilman Brandon Johnson. They start yelling at each other, trying to lunge at each other in some shots. And that's when another lawmaker, Democrat Henry Helgerson, tries to step in and separate them. Then he gets pushed by Carr. You can see it there. Police were called to the scene, but no one was booked. And we heard that this fight was over a vote to set aside money for toxic spill checks in that area.
Yeah, Carr was also caught up in a heated House debate with Republican Representative Nick Hoheisel from Wichita. In this one, it seemed that an exchange of words between the two lawmakers almost escalated. They had to call an early recess on the House floor to get things under control. A complaint was filed for both incidents, but lawmakers could not reach a decision on whether Carr should be disciplined. Instead, Republican leaders gave him a stern warning.
I feel like it was a waste of taxpayer dollars. It was an effort for white legislators to attempt to instruct the black legislator how it is that he should legislate, how he should represent his community. And it won't happen with me ever.
All right, that's Carr in his own words after that gridlock decision came down. And he says he'll continue to represent his district at the State House. Now, Bob, Bill, this was definitely one of the more memorable moments from this session. What's your take on what went down?
Well, I think you got two sides here. You got pretty heated, and all you have to look at is what did Representative Carr's own party do to him? Did they support him? Did they not? Did they run? They removed him from two committees. In the end, when the infractions committee came together, ultimately they supported him, had his back, but they did voted to release the report to the whole House, to the so they're sending some mixed messages there, but there's clearly there's some history here with just white Republican legislators and black Democratic legislators. As he has pointed out in his comments on this, 5% of the legislature is black, and half of the complaints about legislatures have come from white legislators to black legislators.
I will just say, with the removal from some of the committees, Carr did come out and he did say that, you know, he was in talks already to have that removal in place. He didn't want to be on those committees anymore. It was just, I think, about the timing that it came out that it seemed a bit more in response.
That's true.
Yeah,
Bob, what were you saying?
I'm not so sure I really liked how this all went down. After the brawl, or the Celtic Fox Tavern, yeah, we don't want legislators doing that. I will say this, someone who's watched a lot of legislative sessions, we've had DUIs, we've had fights, we have a lot of alcohol going on. These kind of things are not necessarily unusual. What I really am unsure about is that a complaint against Ford Carr didn't happen after that by another legislator. It happened after he filed a complaint about the legislator who came up to him and said bull crap and pounded on his desk. Then he complained about him, and now they complained about Ford Carr. To me, that sounded like, hey, you know what? It really wasn't the behavior in the bar or anything. It's because you complained about one of our members. And sort of like that gives a chilling effect. And so did Ford Carr had to go through, you know, these committee hearings and all this sort of thing. And what about the legislator who walks up and does a swear word on the floor of the House, right? We're not even seeing him. So I didn't really like the way this went down. I'm not condoning legislative misbehavior, but it does seem like that they went after Ford Carr in a way that maybe wasn't appropriate.
Very interesting. Okay, gentlemen. Well, another surprising moment from this year, of course, a last-minute tax change that could impact how much you pay in income taxes. Now, this new law, it all depends on how much money the state makes. Now, this will not impact your taxes this year, but if the state has enough money going forward, taxes are going to eventually start to gradually lower to a flat tax of 4%. Not all lawmakers agree to this move, however, as there was mixed reaction. All right, Bob, Bill, what's your take on this new law?
I'm the tax guy.
Trigger law.
Okay, trigger law. Trigger law.
Go ahead. Yeah, before I'll just add that trigger laws are other states have them. In fact, I was telling Bill that Oregon has one where if tax receipts are above a certain threshold, they send out checks to the citizens of Oregon. They literally get a check saying, "Hey, we had a good year in taxes." Wow. This is more in line with Kansas with the tax rate, right, Bill?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's another option they could have done. But two things in Governor Kelly's veto and pushback against this. We always go back to the Brownback years. This is going to take us back to the Brownback. Don't go back to the Brownback years. An experiment. This isn't exactly going back. Brownback, if you remember, there was a race to zero. This is a race to 4%. And so we are going to have an income tax. It's just going to go a little bit lower, not a lot lower, and it's going to be gradual. So I just want to make that point. But on the other side, Governor Kelly points out, we're looking at, this has cost $1.3 billion per year. We are going to be in the red in $400 million. So in that regard, it is going back to the Brownback years very much.
But it only goes down if the tax money's coming in, right?
Yeah, and so we'll still have a rainy day fund for the rainy day, 15%. But my point from the property tax discussion is that they're taking the income. They showed their priority this year. Income tax, not property tax.
That's a good point. Because they could have said, hey, why don't we do a trigger law with property taxes? If all this money comes in, let's use it to cut property taxes somehow.
Like I said, you got to backfill property tax cuts with income tax. There aren't going to be any income tax there to backfill property tax. So they chose income over property.
All right, any other surprising moments, Bob?
And I guess one other sort of surprise is that the legislature did not put more money into decreasing the disability wait list. I know that's a little technical, but that's just something people have been asking for many years, and they did not put any great amount more than the people have been asking for.
All right, Bob, Bill, thank you so much. Another shocking moment, at least for marijuana advocates. No action on marijuana this year. Now the question is, where do lawmakers go from here?
And what's next for marijuana reform in Kansas? We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Dear unbreakable spirit, when the terrain is gnarly, you steady us. When obstacles are ahead, you lift us. When the turf is hostile, you inspire us. Own a legend. Toyota Trucks.
Get 1.99% APR financing for 48 months on the 2025 Tundra. Visit your local Toyota dealer and get a great deal today. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Hi, I'm Justin Glasgow, owner of Performance Tire and Auto. This season, don't just change your tires, upgrade them and save. From now until May 31st, get up to $70 Cooper Tire reward with the purchase of 4 qualifying tires.
Drive away with confidence and safe driving when your vehicle wears Cooper tires.
Visit us at either of our 2 locations, 1735 North Kansas Avenue or 17th and South Topeka Boulevard.
Be there for one of the biggest races on the NASCAR calendar.
You can't win the championship at Talladega, but you sure can lose it.
The NASCAR Xfinity Series, live this Saturday at 3 Eastern, 12 Pacific on the CW.
This week's Pets in Need Spotlight is Lovely Cassie. Lovely Cassie is almost 8 years old. She is our longest-term resident adoptable cat. She is a bit picky and looking for a home with no other cats or small kids. You can meet Lovely Cassie at Helping Hands Humane Society.
Register now for the Robert Legree Memorial Sporting Plays fundraiser on April 26th. This family-friendly the Ravenwood Lodge benefits Topeka's Ronald McDonald House. Registration opens at 7:30 with rounds all morning. Register online today.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. Finally this morning, what happened to marijuana talks at the Capitol?
Advocates thought this would be the hot topic this year. It would gain some traction, especially heading into an election year, but nothing got done with this. Bob, Bill, when do you think we could see some movement?
Every year there's hopes, and then every year it goes up in smoke.
Yeah, I don't think this was, all puns aside, there was a token effort this time around. I'm not a big believer. They tried to have an amendment just to allow it for terminally ill cancer patients, and that got squashed. I mean, they're going out of their way to try. The advocates are, for sure, even with the most simplest sort of type of allowances, and the door is just not. I don't think the door is even ajar. So I'm not, color me unconvinced here.
I think the Republican leadership in the House and the Senate, it has to change, because there is some Republicans who are very interested in this issue, wanting to talk about it, have hearings, really go down the road maybe toward some form of legalization on the medical side at least. And the leadership really just shuts the door every time. And so that will change. So that'll be interesting to see as the next Republican leadership. They do have a lot of power as to what bills may or may not be discussed or especially even voted on. And I just don't think it's going to happen unless the leadership changes.
Well, maybe even in 2026, that's happening before the election as well. Do you think we could see maybe some movement, maybe even conversations about it?
Well, we have a gubernatorial election in 2026. I guess I would say more, could this become a talking point on the campaign trail? Again, this is a libertarian issue. It's not necessarily Republican and Democrat. So it's something that a Republican candidate could. There's a number of Republicans, voters and even legislators, that are very open to at least medical marijuana as a libertarian issue. So we could see a gubernatorial candidate.
2/3 of Kansans support recreational marijuana, so it's out there.
The medical numbers are through the roof.
Medicals are even higher.
But Kansas is one of a small handful of states that still don't allow marijuana in any form.
That's right.
I think it's 9 or 8. Yeah, it's a very small number. Yeah. I think maybe in the gubernatorial election, there could be an opening for a populist, if you will, or more libertarian Republican candidate to say, I'm open to this idea to attract some votes.
All right, Bob, Bill, thank you both so much. And that was your look inside Kansas politics.
Yeah, we're going to see you next week, same time, same place. Have a wonderful day.